Well, hey, everybody out there in Training Tuesday land. My name is Heidi Reese, and I'm the Training Programs Manager for Dayton Superior, hanging out here with Mr. Chuck Hoke, who's going to be making me laugh apparently all this time. So that should be a fun session. Hey, if any of you guys out there, I know everyone is joined muted so that we can hear, the presentation without any disruptions. But if any of you guys are in a room and there's more than one of you online, I would love to know that. Send me a chat and then to say hey and say, oh, I've got 20 people in here. We're having lunch and we're having a great time. If not, just say hi to me anyway. That'd be great too. You can do that through, oh, I got a chat. I'm excited. We've got a great presentation ready for you. This is the first of the Bridge Deck series that Chuck's going to be doing, and we'll have that through the month of March, if I can say month. All right. So I've already told you that you're muted. I've already told you, please chat with me, that I'm excited about that. The last time when Chuck was out and about training in Texas, I believe, we had a lot of people from Alaska and Hawaii, and they were all chatting with me. So it was really interactive and it was great. So I want you guys to beat them. Oh, there we go. Another chat. Yay. Okay, as a reminder, all of these webinars are recorded and we do put them out on our YouTube channel. That's Dayton Superior's YouTube channel. I also put them on our DaytonSuperior.com website, organize them all by the top 4 that we've done and then by the product type. So we actually have a Bridge Deck page and they'll all be on there along with the other ones. Okay. This presentation is intended for training purposes only, so all the products and things that Chuck's going to talk about, or if I talk about something, I want you to go out to DaytonSuperior.com and look for any technical specifications that we mention for the products. It's really important to look at the TDSs, the safety data sheets, all the application guides before you actually work with these products. So Dayton Superior, we are the leading provider and we provide you with solutions for your projects in the concrete construction industry. You see all these brands coming up here. So it's obvious we've got accessories, forming, and chemicals. We had a great chemical, Todd Fraker was here last week with us. We had a great one. We'll bring them back for you. Like I said, we're going to talk Bridge Deck. We've got bar supports, precast, splicing, tilt up, light and heavy forming. And then we have heavy forming with the Simons forming and shoring systems. So we got it all there for you. If you need any information on anything, check us out on DaytonSuperior.com, Training Tuesday, and you can also find your contact information. But I want to get to the goods of why we're here. So Mr. Chuck here has been with the company for 29, almost 30 years, but he's been in the industry for 49, almost 50 years. So that's impressive. We were just talking about all the stuff that we've done in our life, from him starting out with paving, driveways?
Driveways.
I was working at a cookie company. I don't know which better job I had. I think I had it. But anyway, he's been there, done that is my point. And that's really great to have in your back pocket, because you want to be able to depend on someone for questions and who's been there and who keeps up with the latest trends and with the products that we have available. Specifically around Bridge Deck, there's a lot of people that just don't get the concepts and what are overhang brackets and when do I use this versus steel versus wood versus everything. So we're going to start this out today by talking about some bridge data, some Bridge Deck construction overview of what it actually means, and then how we can assist in the products and accessories and resources to go along with that. So I'm going to let Mr. Smarty Hoots here, Chuck, take on over. You're welcome, Chuck.
Thanks, Heidi. There you go. How to make Heidi happy. Just send her a chat. All right. As Heidi alluded to, we were going to talk today in regards to bridge bracket applications. So when we start talking about bridge applications in the U.S., we are looking at primarily right now still the American Road Transportation Builders Association. They actually track all of the money that's being spent here. So a lot of this is all from the ICE, the T Act that actually was incorporated back in 21, I believe. And, we are still on the last couple of years of that project. And as you can see from this graph here, they've been a steady increase in expenditures on within the road and highway expense budget per se. You're looking at 100 over almost 120 uh I want to say billion of dollars that is totally spent on bridge and highway. And when I say bridge and highway, those are actually all government projects that are let. Now, some of those projects too are things like beautifications, setups. They're not just dedicated to roads and bridges. So this is a complete coverage of all of the money that is being spent. When we're talking bridges and highways, well, we've actually made a small dent in the number of bridges that are rated poor in the US.
That's good. We're a little safer.
A little safer, not a whole hell of a lot, but you know,
Oh, you know, it's bad when you use the snow.
you're still looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 9% of the bridges across the country are structurally deficient. So if you think about it, I used to tell the girls in the office, think how many bridges you go over, how many box culverts you go over. So if you go over a box culvert, let's say 10 of them going from your home to your office, figure out one of those is structurally deficient, which can mean anything from ready to fall down to basically in need of a little bit of repair. So there you have to take that with a grain of salt because you actually if you look at projects in like New York and Pennsylvania, some of the one of the two, and even West Virginia, the bridges that they have there, New York had a structurally deficient bridge back when I was in the bridge market that back, oh, I'm going to say 20 years ago, the Williamsburg Bridge. People were walking through the steel beams. They could actually step from one side of the steel beam through the girder to the other side. That bridge was listed as structurally deficient. Other bridges may have had concrete chipping off or needed small areas. They were listed as structurally deficient. So you have to look at what the severity of the bridge is. And when you start looking at Pennsylvania, New York, West Virginia, these are areas that are typically very heavily industrialized and typically have a lot of truck traffic running on the roads and highways, and they really wreak havoc with the condition of the bridges. So, and a lot of it too also has to do with the winter months, et cetera. So you've got those situations going through. But here's a map that ARTBA puts out here that actually is um, pretty telling as to what you have for bridges and highways. So bridge deck construction, what are we talking about? We're talking about actually the actual horizontal driving surface, the bridge deck itself. This what we would typically classify as the superstructure. Typically, they're going to be either cast in place, precast. They may have some, the beams would be either precast steel. We're seeing a lot of, basically laminated wood structures now starting to come up. We're actually seeing a bunch of new projects coming in here with what they call the next concrete beam structures, which actually is more of a precast setup. And we've seen bridges now here being totally erected in precast. So eliminating a lot of the cast in place concrete. But we will be, in this presentation, we are going to be talking about actual forming for standardized structures, steel beams and concrete girders. Um, we're going to be talking about sheeting, the joists, the ledgers, any post-typical cast-in-place structures, plywood, basically all of that material here being used in it. We'll also be talking about the accessories that go along with it and the chemicals that are used within the process. We'll actually talk a little bit here about the concrete forming because before we get to the concrete girders, we got to build up our structure. So we're going to talk about the Simon system, well, the availability, what that can be done through. And obviously, all of those services are backed with our engineering. So why Simons? Well, if you've got to build a bridge, Simons actually is one of the one-stop shops that you can actually go to and have your structures developed, designed, formed, and actually help with your pouring of the concrete structure. They basically take the time to listen to you to understand all your needs and how you want to progressively move forward and help you design a structure that can accommodate your needs. If we're talking design services, Simons is second to none. Simons has some of the best engineers in the marketplace working for them. And you can see they do a lot of different detailed work, whether it be a digester here that we see in the center of this building, of this these drawings here, or just a structural or a bridge deck. The big thing that Simons is known for is their STS, Maxiform STS forming system. The STS system is a heavy-duty steel frame system, typically used for columns, pier caps. It has great self-spanning capability. So you don't have to have spanning capabilities or supported spanning capabilities from pier to pier. You can actually take care of that within the framework itself without requiring any additional scaffolding or shoring to help support the system. We can do custom designs based off where you're located, what your design stature is, depending on what your pier cap can look at, whether you're looking at a any modular type systems, any any of your columns that are going in, whether they be square, oval, rectangular, whatever, they can accommodate any of your needs for this. And you can also actually call on them for any of your hammerhead piers and any of your standard pier designs. One thing that people don't know, they are a little bit short. They don't typically advertise this system. This is actually one of their bridge deck forming systems, which basically is shipped to the job site with a platform already set up in a gang form situation. So these come off of the truck and go right to the bridge structure and ready to be hung with the hanger. This structure here basically helps you actually, any of your cantilever that you may have on for your overhang. This system is designed with heavy steel maxiform and typically can support up to, we're talking, the hangers are load rated at somewhere in the neighborhood of about anywhere from 11,300 pounds and up. So this is a very stout system for forming overhang bridges, and actually it's one of the projects here. Typically, this system here requires some size and structure. So you've got to have, roughly a couple thousand feet of bridge deck to actually have this system be cost effective for between trucking and shipping and actually setting it up. So
Are you getting distracted with all these chats? Because this is exciting for me. Oh, Ashley and Ashley at Formwork Services. Hi, Chuck.
Yeah. Hi, girl. So in most of these structures, though, you are going to be going through with the standard C49. Probably 9 out of every 10 bridges you're going to do are going to require either a C49, which is the most common bracket used in construction today. Typically, it's just from 30 to 50 inches. We have the deep bracket, which is designed for deeper beams. We have our S bracket, which is actually a C49 bracket, but it has been field modified to accommodate, vertical adjustment of down to 14 inches. And then we have our junior bracket when you have structures that typically cannot you can't fit a full bracket in place here, so you can actually have a short, I'm gonna call it shorter. It's a junior bracket. It's basically about half size from the C49. And we also have a C49C and the C49CD, which is actually a modified C49 to accommodate a heavier capacity. Uh, this system is out there, it's available. Talk to your sales rep and our engineers if you're interested in something like this. The other items we're talking about here are C49, C49D, probably the most two common brackets. Typically have a 54-inch horizontal length, vertical adjustments. The C49 is 30 to 50, the deep is 50 to 70. If you take out the interior pipe of a C49 on the vertical adjustment, take that interior pipe out, you now can adjust that bracket down to 14 inches to 26 inches if needed. At 14 inches, you are still maintaining a 3,750-pound load rating on the diagonal. Once you go below that, you actually start, because of the geometry of the bracket, start taking away from the safe working load. We also have our C89 bracket, C89L, which is a 72 or 90-inch horizontal platform for the deck. But you are talking a much heavier bracket. This bracket is about 4 times heavier than the C49. As you can see, because of the height of the horizontal, basically you went from 2.5 inches to 4 inches and 6 inches. So now you're talking this is a beefy structure and typically uses a 3/4 inch insert and hanger for it. You are looking at increased capacities with this bracket, but there typically is very limited on what your adjustability can be. If you're out on the West Coast, a very popular bracket on the West Coast, we have our C49W. Typically, this gives you a 47-inch platform, which actually is the yokes on here typically are designed so that they can adjust for different elevations. So you may have sloped surfaces or sloped decks on the overhang, which will accommodate. This bracket here will accommodate that, but you need to have a flat surface for this to actually bolt through. And in the top upper left-hand corner of the bracket, you basically would attach through with a piece of coil rod in through the beam, bolted onto the other side of the girder, whether you put a flat plate washer or bolt into another overhang bracket. But this system here is very popular on the West Coast, typically because of the adjustability with those yokes. Now, a component part of the overhang bracket system is the hanger. How are you going to hang that bracket into place here? And you are going to look at a multitude of different hangers. Some of these hangers are designed for steel beams, some are for precast girders, some can be used with either or. We also have like a saddle type series hanger, which can basically just drape over the top of the girders. Doesn't matter if it's steel or concrete. Or we have our coil rod hangers, which actually increase the capacities up to about 4,500 pounds per side. So, and these hangers can typically be accompanied with a 45-degree clip or a 90-degree clip. Whenever you're using an overhang bracket, you have to have a 45-degree clip. The 90-degree clip is typically designed for formwork that is typically going to be suspended from the top of the girder. And because not every bridge is identical, bridges typically have a tendency to change from project to project, locale to locale. We've got different hangers to accommodate everybody's needs. If you do have a question with this, please feel free to contact our sales reps or customer service. Uh, or actually look online for our bridge deck handbook. Our bridge deck handbook has typically been what I would call the Bible of the industry for bridge deck forming over the last 40 years.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna put it in the comment
There
section.
you go. So with that, we also have any of our pressed steel type hangers. We have haunches built into them, some of them with some interlock systems in the backside to help lock everything into place, increasing capacities. All of these hangers are typically designed with a safe working load. Depending on what what hanger you are using and what your situation is, where your finishing machine is going to run, we can actually help decipher which hanger is best for you. Here's some of the different types of applications, especially within the overhang. We have, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, we have weld-on type hangers on bottom left and bottom right. In the middle section there, we have what we call our C25 hanger, most commonly referred to as our oh shit hanger, because that's usually, they need that when they realize that that hanger.
And swear a word.
I know, I'm bad, but that's typically the, what comments coming from the contractor when he realizes he forgot to put a hanger in place here. So this is something that actually is like an emergency repair hanger. It's very common in the industry to actually either have a hanger misplaced, broken off, basically not applied, not installed correctly. So these hangers actually come in very handy for every project in the country. And even if you're not, if you're outside of the country, a lot of the guys, a lot of the distributors in other locales, such as Latin America, South America, actually stock this type hanger with a longer tail on it so that it can accommodate a multitude of different applications. We also have our wraparound hangers and our coil rod hangers. As you can see how these are typically being used with steel beams. You also see in the top right-hand corner here, this with a wraparound hanger is being used with something called what we call concrete plank. It is something that we are seeing spreading across the country in today's marketplace. It started out west, Colorado, Utah. We are now seeing it in Texas and some other states here. In lieu of using an SIP corrugated metal pan, they are now using this concrete plank. Makes life a little easier for the guys installing the hangers. Uh, it is a viable section of how to actually form up the interior bays of the hanger without using any formwork per se. Now, when you start out with a bridge bracket, you need to put a nails plate on the bottom of it. I was out on a site here a couple weeks ago, and the contractor was actually taking 1x2 and cutting it into little strips to actually make this little configuration. I told him, I says, why don't you just take a 2x6, notch it, and set it in an over place? Well, he goes, how long does that notch have to be? And I says, well, how far out is your over where your coil rod is going through? That slot that is in there is only there to accommodate the 1/2 inch coil rod. So if your coil rod is only going from point A to point B on this job, you only have to be so far. A lot of contractors, what they'll do though, if they own their brackets, they will actually notch this the full length, because then this bracket will now be ready for job today. If they finish the job next month and then going to ship them to another job, it'll be ready for the next job. So this is a quick and easy way to actually put your nail strip in place here for all your form work. And here you can see where the nail strip is going to go, how the coil rod drops down through it. You have your, on top of your overhang bracket, you have an 1.5 inch nail strip. You have 4x4 posts and then plywood lumber to actually accommodate a formwork setup. So 1/2 inch coil rod with the C49, C49D, and a C49S. 3/4 inch coil rod is used for a C89. We also have a wall plate adapter for contractors that want to take their overhang brackets and use them as a scaffold bracket that's going to adapt to any wall surface. You don't have to have an insert cast in place in today's market. Guys can use a drop-in type anchor or a bear cap bolt to actually make the connection into the wall. I do recommend whatever you do in this type of a situation that you retorque these daily because they do have a tendency to loosen up. We also have extensions and guardrail receptacles for the brackets. They actually make the brackets a little longer and obviously install a guardrail. And we talked about engineering services. Well, we have a full range of bridge deck engineering services. Basically, you can call up on our website. The sheet will pop up. You can fill in all of the shaded areas. This will actually go to our engineering department, and they will accommodate you by coming up with a calculation sheet. Here it is. You'll get one page typically for the overhang. And down at the bottom of the page, it will actually tell you how far you are going to space the overhang bracket based off of basically what information you fed into the formula based off of where, and the big point is going to be your finishing machine. Finishing machine typically accommodates 75 to 80% of the load of the bracket. Here we also have bridge deck calculation sheets for the interiors. We can calculate all this out here for you. And interior formwork still a summary part of part A based off of we will take into consideration all of the lumber spacing and size. And any of the accompanying information that is required as far as standardized lumber, live well, design loads, etc., are all put in place here. We can also develop a framing plan for this system and actually put it to paper and actually have a PE stamp available on this. And what this can actually do is then be sent to the state for your forming plan for the bridge deck. And contractors, we have a lot of jobs where the contractors love having this done for them, set up for, so they do not have to go through and calculate all of this out here for the contractor. Basically, for the state, a contractor can take care of this. And when you start talking to the contractors on this, talk about costs. What does it cost for them to do this? We can actually be you'll find that this is a very competitive and oftentimes a very more reasonable price than what it would actually cost the contractor. We can provide this service. As I talked about the finishing machines, typically most finishing machines here are run off of the overhang brackets. Some DOTs though now, because the weight of these finishing machines are becoming so great because the width that they cover happens to be so huge. I mean, it's just huge. It's gone from a 60-foot wide bridge. Now we're talking 80 and 100-foot wide bridges are standard in the industry. Things that we're going to take into consideration on this, obviously, is the number of wheels per side, wheel spacing, wheel weights, and that all has to come from the contractor. The contractor can actually provide that from the finishing machine manufacturer. And other items that we've got available for any of the bridge decks. We can also accommodate for bar supports and splicing, two components that are typically used heavily in bridge construction. So whether it be plastic, metal, bar supports, we can accommodate bar supports. As far as splicing, we can do epoxy, plain, galvanized, and stainless steel. Where are you going to find this information? Well, any of the TDSs, handbooks, e-marketing, product pages, contact information. Get a hold of Heidi over here, who's just happier than heck with all the people chatting with her. That's all available at DaytonSuperior.com. And you'll find, like I said, the Bridge Deck Handbook. like I said, a great piece of information to have for you available on any of your projects here. It's one of those things that you typically should always have available if you're heavily into bridge forming. This is one of the items you want to have. You also have any design calculations, how to get a hold of our engineering group is all available on that site. Just go to DaytonSuperior.com. And if you don't know who to call, who your salesman is, give a click on our maps. The maps are actually designed so you actually have your Simons and Dayton maps. And we can actually accommodate that and tell you who your rep is, whether it be Simons or Dayton, and get their phone number is readily available.
Awesome. So we actually have a question. So if anybody else has a question, go ahead and put it in. But our first one is, you ready, Chuck?
Yep.
Okay. Have you ever used the C51 wall plate in a welded application instead of with the anchor to suspend an overhang bracket?
Yes, I have. Typically it has been welded to a like sheet piling or a interior web of a girder. I typically don't like to weld to the web of the girder because you don't know what would happen to the strength of the web, if that would actually affect because of that applied heat. So, but like the sheet piling and so forth, yes, we have done that where it has been applied to it. It just gets real messy. I mean, you can pretty much figure once you strip it off, you're going to pretty much throw the piece away afterwards. The wall plate adapter plate.
Okay, awesome. I got another question. Do the overhang calculation packages include the analysis of steel girders? Do they have girdles on them, Chuck?
No, they do not run the analysis of the steel girders. That is actually the design function of the structural engineer. As when they design the bridge, we are just putting in the forming criteria of what is required to actually form and pour the bridge deck itself.
Anybody else have a question? And you're welcome. Like I answered that, I'm telling them, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome for Chuck being so smart. All right. Well, if you do have a question, you've got our email right there, training@DaytonSuperior.com. That goes to both Chuck and myself, and you can contact us directly with our name at DaytonSuperior.com, and we'll be happy to assist you. And for those of you who asked about the PowerPoint and the slides, we don't hand those out, but like I said to you guys in chat, the link will be out there probably about 4 o'clock. Just literally go to DaytonSuperior.com and search Training Tuesday, and the first link will be enjoy the latest and greatest, and that'll be there, and it goes right to YouTube for you, and you can bookmark it or pass it along. And be sure to sign up for next week and the next couple of weeks as we continue with the Bridge Deck series.
The next series I believe is going to be overhang bracket and hanger configuration, how they actually will relate to what hangers are going to be used for the
fun. So you guys be sure to sign up for that. I'll get the sign up updated in just a moment. I do want to eat some lunch first, so just wait a little bit. And Chuck, great job as always. Thank you guys for talking with me on the chat, and I will see you next week. Bye now.
I know.